Dale Jager says a review found the petitions were riddled with violations, including signatures that were likely forged. Attorney General Drew Wrigley says his office is still deciding whether to pursue legal action against that group. Minnesota has a Mega Millions winner for $106 million. Mega Millions has confirmed that a single ticket sold in the St. Paul suburb of Ramsey matched all 6 numbers in last night's drawing, plus the gold Mega Ball 17. The $106 million jackpot has a cash option of $64 million. It was sold at the Holiday Station store in Ramsey. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy this afternoon. We may see some isolated sprinkles or flurries. And KFGO meteorologist Tom Szymanski is expecting perhaps 40 for a high. Will stay cloudy tonight then. Maybe some light snow overnight, 25. Cloudy, windy tomorrow. Areas of light snow, some blowing snow. And some areas that pick up that new snow, 30. Mostly cloudy, then windy for Friday. Scattered snow showers, flurries, 28. 34, partly sunny Saturday. Clouds Sunday. Another chance of light snow in 36. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy. It is 33. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
I'm going to admit this on air, so I said it in passing. You know, there was a moment yesterday morning, perhaps, when we had heard about this system coming in, and the part of the heaviness, all that, and we're expecting. I'm like, oh, we're going to miss out on that, and it was just in that passing. Oh, shucks, type thing. I feel so bad ever having that in my mind, and then I feel even worse for those of you that are trying to dig out of the first round, of which it sounds like some of you have caught just a little bit of a break for a short amount of time, and unfortunately it's not going to be all that long when it comes to this snow that's just been pounding. And it's the heavy snow. I mean, I don't have to tell you, you've been the one looking at it, you've been the one that have been moving it. The ability to get that stuff moved, I really hope that somebody's got out there some of the heavy equipment for you. I've seen some people talking online about, this is one of those, as you call it, the Widowmaker ones, just because it is so heavy. So if you're out there and you don't have the snowblower, you don't have the Bobcat, whatever it is, take your time out there moving that snow, because it is heavy, it is wet. And some of you have not just a foot, you've got feet of it so far. And, and you listen to Too Tall Tom here in a little bit. We get you caught up on what you can expect the rest of today through tomorrow, and unfortunately for some, maybe through Friday morning. But I would encourage you to just keep it locked in here, because as I just told you, Too Tall Tom, the best in the biz, going to be the straight shooter that you need to hear as far as who's going to get what and when. So that's going to be coming up a little bit later on. If you want to share your experience out there, I know that there's probably not been, or there should not have been, a whole lot of activity. I mean, I'm talking about watching from the county sheriffs to the fire departments in the small towns that I follow. I mean, everybody has been encouraging you that if you don't have to, do not go anywhere. And I hope you've been heeding that advice. Now, unfortunately, I know that some of those roadways had been closed, and unfortunately, which seems to be every single time, people going around barriers. Do not do that. And I know that there has been that eagerness. Okay, there's people waiting to go from this point to the next point, and when the roadways open up, you get up and go, even through a no travel advised. So just take your time if you've absolutely, with those roadways being open. Yep. Yesterday, I had one of those post-show work conversations that I had to go to, and those get sometimes where it takes just a little bit longer to get the ink to dry. And I'm heading north. Many of you know that I now live north of town here. And I must have just had the bad time to where they were closing down 29 from Fargo to Canada. And it was as it was happening there. So I get how frustrating it could be. And that's in a situation where it's only been raining here. We've been spoiled down in the FM area, as many of you have been digging out and continue to do just that for the next few days. But if you need to share your experience, by all means, Laney Studio Line is open all day today at 237-5948. If you want to text in to the iConsultants of North Dakota Text Club, we allow that as well at 35270. We got Bill Werner coming up in just a little bit. You had the passing of the deadline in the Minnesota legislative session, and every time that I've now discussed the legislative session on the Minnesota side, I think about our one caller that discussed, well, if they don't get their work done and they've got to come in for a special session, they ought not get paid because they're not getting their work done in a timely manner. If that individual is listening, well, they're going to be running into just that. To no one's surprise, you expected it. There's a reason why the frustration for Minnesota residents has been building, because special sessions, well, they're not that special anymore because they happen, well, every year, in which you've got not any work, or not, I shouldn't say any, not enough of the work done, the important work, by the end of that deadline, which you've got, by law, to get on up and get out of here, go home to your district. So they're going to be getting called back in, but our buddy Bill is going to tell us about what was accomplished and where the lines are drawn. Because the way I understand it from the FM area here is lines in the sand, they were dug pretty deep as to what the Republicans want, what the Democrats want, and what Governor Walz wants, certainly from the governor's office. So we'll have that conversation. Also, Chris Atterbury, the studio host of your Minnesota Twins. I want to thank Linex of Fargo-Moorhead. You can find them on Main and West Fargo, and Jiffy Lube, with their multiple locations here in the FM area, for sponsoring that conversation. But my question right now, if you've been hearing all day, and well, no, I should say all week, that we're having the first mayoral debate here on KFGO. That's going to be starting on these airwaves at 6 o'clock. Joel Heidkamp and myself going to be just doing a quick little preview or pre-show, and then we're getting out of the way. We're letting the journalists in the KFGO News Center ask your questions, of which many of you went to KFGO.com and submitted those. I want to thank everybody who did. But I want to open this up for you now. And I'm going to open this up in a way that it is not just a Fargo thing. It can be. I know I got a large listening audience here in Fargo, but also quite an audience outside of this FM area. These June elections coming up are going to be for your local races, in the most part. And we're talking school boards. We're talking city councils. I mean, the list goes on. That local control that we brag about, that we like to, envision as being so responsive to us. My question for you, have they been? I mean, has it been conducted in a way that you can, afford the increased values of your home, especially if you're not looking to sell? Do you feel still safe wherever you're listening to me? Has crime gone up? What are those major areas of concern for you? Is what I would really like to get my finger on the pulse here in the next 10 minutes of what the top issues are for you. I just threw out a couple that come to my mind. I'd love to hear yours at 35270. I'm going to come back to that here in just a few moments here. I'm Tyler Axis, Afternoons Live. Just getting started here on KFGO. Don't go anywhere. Cebulski has come out and been talking a lot more with media about, well, this is my approach. This is what I'm hearing. Here's what I would like to do. But when it comes to the mayoral debate, I do believe that in the portfolio of who's in charge of what, that does fall under the purview of the mayor. So if you're thinking about just the workforce or what we're talking about as far as concerns go, is it the increase in crime rate or what at least the appearance of it is? I mean, it's been 2 times over the last 2 days in which the SWAT has been activated to help out with the Fargo PD to go do a warrant. And, thankfully, both times I believe that those individuals have been taken into custody without much incident. But 2 times in 2 days, that catches your attention, does it not? I mean, there's a reason why the media has been talking about those, because they used to be so uncommon. 2 times in 2 days, certainly going to be a topic for tonight. More messages coming in. 35270. That's the iConsultants of North Dakota Text Club. If you want to call in, the Laney studio line is 237-5948. Tyler, I'm irritated with the dilapidated houses on my side of town that are vacant, but yet my property taxes keep going up. That's going to be the largest area, I think, for so many people. Keep coming back to, why are property taxes continuing to go up because of A, B, or C? And what in the world can be done about it, if anything? Because we were told that something could be done. And this is going to also dive into, I suspect, well, why am I having to pay an increase in property taxes while you've got new developments that are getting all these tax breaks? Now, you can take that outside of just the metro area here. I mean, I told you and I teased it, and I didn't really get into it a whole lot yesterday, but getting the calls that I've been getting from Castleton, for example, about some of the tax breaks that this proposed soybean plant will get for 15 years or whatever it might be. And sure, they might cut a check to the school for $100,000 for a year. But you've got residents out there wondering why they're getting breaks, yet me, as somebody that's a resident that's lived here for my whole life, why my property taxes continue to go up. Where's my sweetheart deal? Tyler, how long before the elected mayor gets in the Kilbourne pocket comes in? If you're not following along, I can tell you the sentiment there as to why a text like that comes in. You've got, for example, affordable housing be one of those top-of-mind issues for people in this area for a long time. When you think about the increase in needs for low-income services here, you've unfortunately seen more people homeless here. I mean, it seems like every year we do the count of how many people are in need, and that number keeps ticking up. So when you've got proposals to address affordable housing downtown, for example, and it goes to the Kilbourne Group in the way of which some of the non-official communications have been reported to some people in the know, there gets to be questions why everything keeps going to the same group of individuals who, let's not kid ourselves, we all know a connection to, say, the governor of North Dakota, who's already come out and endorsed a mayoral candidate out here. I mean, there is people wondering, is this all intertwined? And if so, where do you draw the line? Tyler, why are property taxes going up? Have you seen the prices of 30-year-old houses in Fargo? $250,000 to $300,000 for Ramblers, 2,000 square feet by Fargo South. That's why property taxes are going up. Well, yeah, the valuations are driving all this. The houses of which have not even been touched, like you're saying a Rambler 2,000 feet, those are continuing to go up as well. And people are trying to figure out, well, I've not done much. If I'm looking to sell, hey, great. Hell, I was one of those people just last year. But for those families that say, look, this is my home, I raised my kids here, I do not want to move, I'm on Social Security, I'm on retirement, I can't afford this, what do you propose we do for them? More messages coming on. I'll get back to that after we get you caught up with KFGO News. I see the phone lines are blowing up as well. I'm Tyler Axtis. This is After News Live on 790 AM, 94.1 and 104.7 FM, KFGO.
News and weather this hour brought to you by Rick Electric, proud to serve the Fargo-Moorhead area since 1964. Day or night, they're here for you. Find them at rickelectric.com.
Mostly cloudy. Fargo-Moorhead 34. I'm Paul Jurgens. 194 from Bismarck to Jamestown has reopened now. The DOT and State Patrol, though, have a no travel advisory in place. Bismarck to the Montana line remains closed, and the State Patrol and DOT say it is unlikely to reopen today on 94 west of Bismarck, remaining closed. Also, parking for commercial vehicles has been at a premium in Jamestown and Bismarck. The DOT, State Patrol are expecting that travel conditions will worsen throughout the day in that part of the state into this evening, and it is possible that there will be additional road closures. They're waiting out the storm in Beach, North Dakota, near the Montana border. Roxanne Myers, who works at the Flying J Travel Plaza, says it's busy.
We have a couple feet at least. It's blowing and drifting. One driver suggested getting some chips and games, but most of them are just coming in, watching some TV, taking showers, visiting.
Travelers in Beach will have to make do for another day or so before they can get out. The wind and snow are expected to kick up again before the storm fully moves out of the state sometime tomorrow. The Weather Service is expecting between 15 and 18 inches of total accumulation in the central and northwest part of the state, with 15 to 24 inches in southwest and south central North Dakota. 34 degrees. This is KFGO News. Mostly cloudy, 34 degrees. This is KFGO News. Minnesota has a Mega Millions winner for $106 million. Mega Millions has confirmed that a single ticket sold in the St. Paul suburb of Ramsey matched all 6 numbers in last night's drawing, plus the gold Mega Ball 17. The jackpot has a cash option of $64 million. It was sold at the Holiday Station store in Ramsey. It is the first time since Minnesota joined Mega Millions in 2010 that someone who purchased a ticket in the state has won the jackpot. A court will oversee a Twin Cities nonprofit meals program that's under federal investigation for defrauding the government of millions of dollars. Attorney General Keith Ellison asked the court to oversee the finances and operations of Feeding Our Future, which allegedly stole millions of dollars in federal funds. The offices of Feeding Our Future and some of its contractors were raided by the FBI in January. The group allegedly defrauded at least $197 million meant for purchasing and providing free meals to needy children in 2001 alone. Some people are calling for changes in the way officers deal with children after police in the St. Paul suburb of Maplewood handcuffed 4 juveniles in an investigation for which they were later cleared. Police say 2 12-year-olds, a 16-year-old, and a 10-year-old were handcuffed for about 20 minutes as officers investigated a report of shots fired. The children were not involved. An attorney says the case is an example of implicit bias. 3 of the kids are black and 1 is Hispanic. Minnesota's black bears will be emerging from hibernation soon, and because there are no berries or green vegetation early in the spring, bears will be looking for food sources. The DNR says once a bear finds a food source, it will likely return. Avoid any confrontations by checking your property for any unsecured food sources, including coolers and grills. Keep garbage and recyclables inside the garage until pickup day. The DNR says don't put out feed for wildlife like corn pellets or molasses blocks, and bird food attracts bears. Hang feeders 10 feet off the ground and at least 4 feet from the nearest trees. The FGO Weather Center forecast, it looks like we will stay mostly cloudy this afternoon. Fargo-Moorhead, perhaps 40 or so for our high. Again, the snow off to our west, north, and northwest. Clouds tonight, chance of light snow overnight, 25. Tomorrow, cloudy, windy. Looks like some light snow. Meteorologist Tom Szymanski is expecting some blowing snow in areas that have received new snow, and about 30 for tomorrow's high. Friday, just 28, mostly cloudy, a windy day. Scattered snow showers or flurries. Mostly cloudy, 34 degrees. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
and the savoir-faire. No one in the whole universe will ever compare. I am yours now and you are mine, and together we'll love through all space and time.
KFGO time is 2:35 Wednesday, and I'm going to get to the phone lines and visit with Mike, who's been patiently waiting through the news. Mike, appreciate your patience. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well today. It's we've got some moisture here. I know that I'm trying to find that silver lining in this storm that a lot of people are going through. I hope that the moisture at least comes and breaks us out of some of this drought, Mike.
Right on. I hear you. I'm hearing about what you're talking about. I'm with you on this Kilborn group, making it hard for people to live in different parts of the community. They can't afford to live there. I was out canvassing here last weekend, and I did the Brookwood Estates trailer park, and the people there told me their lot rents got doubled, and they're getting excessive fines for being like day late and stuff, like $100, and they got a new corporation bought it, and the trailer court's just gone to hell, is what these people have told me. I talked to 200 residents here. They were all complaining. I'm running for United States Senate. I said, I'll get some awareness, but they're afraid they can't leave because the same corporation that bought that trailer park owns all the other trailer parks in Fargo. So that's kind of where I'm coming at.
Mike, I've heard that sentiment. Oh, it's been a few years, man. That somebody came out, I think it was a California group. They came and bought that trailer park and, made the promises that we're going to increase the lighting here. We're going to patch up some of the potholes in the roads. I don't know that they ever came through and did that, but you're right about, they're increasing rates and then really sticking it to these individuals. And I don't know what recourse they have as far as, do you go to your property owner? Yeah, do you go to your what did they tell you that they have a way to fix it, if anything? Are they asking you to do it, Mike?
I'm running for Senate. I'm saying Sherman Antitrust Act because you can only own 30% of a market. And anything, if you read your Sherman Antitrust Act, if they're violating those laws, they have to be broken up. They can't own every trailer park. And these people have been told that if they move, they're still going to pay the same rent because the same corporation owns it. So that's where we got a monopoly, and that's where Sherman Antitrust laws come in, and we can take them down that way.
Very good. Mike, I appreciate the phone call. You take care out there. 237-5948. That's the Laney studio line. You can text me at 35270 as well. Well, Mike brings up there is a residency out there that really is overlooked. You think about rent, you think about apartment dwellers, right? You all know about the property owners themselves, people that own their house or have a condo. There's a whole residency of people that live in those mobile home trailer parks. And they have a unique situation that I don't think it's talked about enough. So I appreciate Mike bringing that to our attention. We'll continue that after I get you caught up, CBS National News. Also, Bill Warner, our friend from Minnesota, our Capital correspondent, he is next right here on KFGO.
I am yours now and you are mine, and together we'll love through all space and time. So don't cry. One day all seven will die.
Want to head on down to St. Paul in Minneapolis, where we connect with our friend Bill Werner, our Capitol correspondent, whom I'm hoping has got some time away from the Capitol because lawmakers have, so I hope he is as well. Bill, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing well, Tyler. Yeah, I've well, it's been a slow week, and we'll take a little bit of time off here now, grab a couple of days, and then they'll be back full force on Tuesday. So then, then we're in the home stretch then to the end of the legislative session.
So lines are drawn in the sand, is what I take, and I'm going to go ahead and suspect that means this back and forth. Well, we haven't had a whole lot of progress. Maybe sides are dug in a little bit more now than what they were.
Oh, I would say so. I mean, and as a matter of fact, just before they went on the Passover Easter break, so they've been gone this week. So at the end of last week, what they really did was they hardened the battle lines or firmed up the battle lines. I mean, it was pretty obvious where the areas of difference were over the level of tax cuts, whether one time or permanent tax cuts, whether the governor's what he calls walls checks, or whether it would be permanent tax cuts, or whether it would be tax cuts targeted at low and middle income people, as the Democrats in the Minnesota House are proposing. So, that was all. We kind of knew it was going there, and sure enough, it ended up there. And then they're on break this week. But the debate did not end, of course. I mean, the governor was at Minnesota State Moorhead, Tuesday, right?
Yesterday.
Or was it Monday? All the days kind of go together now. But at any rate, earlier in the week, and he's touting what he's calling walls checks, and the Republicans are saying, "Hey, this is the people's money," and the governor says, "Well, if you want to call it the combined Democrat, Republican, Independent, agreed upon tax cuts, fine." But you get an idea kind of where it's at.
One thing I've always been critical of Democrats being that they're not good about going out and really touting things. It still bothers me, Bill. I don't know if I need your opinion, but going out and saying, "Hey, those walls checks, I hope they're in the mail for you by the end of the session. Contact your lawmaker." It's goofy to me, but especially dubbing the checks after yourself. If somebody else wanted to do that, then that's okay.
Yeah, and I think the governor said in Moorhead that he was thinking in terms of Jesse Ventura and maybe something like that. But in any event, the nomenclature has created a lot of problems, even aside from the policy here in this one.
Yeah.
Tyler, what the analysts are really saying is that this is all about posturing for the fall elections.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a situation here where we have a huge budget surplus, over $9 billion, a record dollar amount in the surplus. We are not in a budget year, so we don't have this specter of potential state government shutdown or partial government shutdown hanging over lawmakers' heads at the end of the fiscal year on June 30th. And therefore, that pressure is off. So what are we really looking at here? A lot of analysts are saying we're looking at the fall elections, that they're predicting that there might be a fairly meager work product out of the 2022 legislative session, with a fair amount of money left uncommitted. What in the Capitol parlance is called on the bottom line. Maybe even billions of dollars potentially. So then the sides go out, they campaign, they say, "Hey, we couldn't agree on this, right?" Mm-hmm. And the Republicans are going to say, "The Democrats just didn't want to give you any of your money back," and the Democrats are going to say the Republicans want to just give it all back to the rich people. I mean, that'll be the argument on the campaign trail.
It's a
and
tale.
And then they'll say, "Put us in and give us complete control of the legislature and the governor's office, and we'll do this." And that's why it may end up playing out that way.
A tale as old as time. I mean, that sounds like campaigning 101. Well, you know what?
Right.
We could have got this done if we had more of us out there. So get prepared, folks, for all you listening on the Minnesota side. That's Bill Werner just gave you the script you're going to hear every single day at your door. Probably get it in the mail. In fact, you might hear it over these very airwaves in some of those ads as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks saying, "Yeah, we need to get something done," and so on and so forth. But I think they're sincere about that. But it's really a question of does the political dynamic in an election year, this much money, not being a budget year, does it send it that way? And I tend to think there's probably going to be a modicum of some sort of agreement, probably something, the Democrats are really pushing hard for additional education spending, and the governor and the Republicans are saying, look, we can't just throw more money at the education system, which hasn't delivered at this point. That's what they're saying. We need more accountability measures and more choice options for parents if the schools that their kids are in are not performing. So that argument, it's probably pretty difficult, I think, to not have some amount of money go to public schools in some way, shape, or form, or some sort of agreement in that area. But it's not going to take care of the whole budget surplus. And so, therefore, you've got the other areas of tax cuts and so on, which are pretty significant. And that stuff, I think, will be unresolved.
Well, and Bill, there's another elephant in this room that has been a topic of conversation because we've seen tragedies. We've seen people, throw out there, well, I'm not going to downtown Minneapolis anymore.
Yeah, right.
I was just there this past Saturday taking in the Twins game and had a great time. But I know there's that perception out there that, hey, crime is certainly on the rise. And I get why the perception is there because some of the more violent things that have been happening. I've got to assume that this has got to be a top 2, 3, 4 issue on a lot of voters' minds. Do you get that assessment from where you sit?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, number one, I think, probably. And it depends on what happens with the economy in terms of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and all these kind of things, right? All the ramifications for that, and then the inflation rates are going up, and is the Fed going to be able to rein that in, and all these kind of things. But aside from a real serious economic downturn, that's not in the forecast, but I guess you never know, right? In the current situation. Aside from that, I think the crime issue, my impression is uppermost in many people's minds.
Yeah.
And then that begs the question, what we were talking about, Tyler, earlier about the tax cuts and surplus and so on. Is anything going to get done about crime? And the Republicans and Democrats are much different camps, are approaching that much different positions there as well. The Republicans saying, get tough. The sentences aren't long enough. Judges are being lenient on sentences. We want judges' names on websites so people can look and say, hey, this judge is being lax, and let's vote him out. Those kind of things, right? That stance. Democrats are saying, well, if we go this route and increase the sentences, we might as well, taxpayers, you're going to have to build another prison. We don't solve the problem. We just incarcerate. They're saying, hey, let's do community policing. Let's do some preventive efforts. And Democrats are stressing that they are not defunding the police. Well, Republicans see that differently. But you can see that this is a lot different approach between the two sides. And they're probably, Tyler, I think that they're going to take that to the election, too. I still really don't see too much getting done in the crime area either, to be honest with you, at least now.
Not. Yeah, and that even played out, and I'm running up against the clock here to get a weather update there, Bill.
Yeah.
But that's where even on the national scale, when you talk about judges being lenient, well, that's what the Supreme Court conversation was and the nomination process as well. So
sure, absolutely.
That's going to be campaign issue number 3, I have no doubt. Bill, my friend,
absolutely.
I'm going to let you go. We'll chat again next Wednesday, all right?
Excellent. Yeah, they'll be back in session then, so we'll find out where we're at then.
All right.
Okay.
You take care. Bill Warner, Capital correspondent out in St. Paul. Messages in at 35270. I will get back to those after this Too Tall Tom Schmansky weather update. You got a locked into KFGO Fargo. Folks, I'm telling you, baseball just cannot get out of its own way when it comes to a variety of things. One, of course, you know about the whole situation going into the season, which had a shortened, training to where it pushed back opening day. And I'm sure that probably plays just a small role in this. But you have got a situation which the excitement happens when rare things occur in whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's sports, radio, whatever it is. Those rare moments gets the excitement level up. And here's the bad thing: Twins. Well, they lost. They lost to the LA Dodgers 7-0, 7-0. And you got Clayton Kershaw was pitching for the LA Dodgers. Perfect through 7 innings on 80 pitches. And they pulled him. It was so close to that perfect game. To get that level of excitement, this is 6 games into the season. You'd have been one of, under 30 perfect games? And they pulled him, probably because of statistics.
I just saw a stat flash on the TV while I was watching 20 swings and misses in 80 pitches.
He was a little bit on fire today out there at Target Field. But, it's almost as though they've overanalyzed this game. Now, perhaps part of it is because of the stupid lockout. So you had that delayed, that shortened spring to where maybe the rhythm's not quite there. Your body's not up to speed for the regular season as it would have been. I'm really trying to find an excuse for Major League Baseball, but the fact is they've been doing this even last year. It's like this is one of those rare opportunities to get the vibe back. People were excited for opening day. You keep that momentum building, and instead you see this moment time and time again. You have somebody on the mound throwing great, and then you pull them with just 2 innings. He was so close to being there, albeit, of course, I wanted the Twins to win. But come on, baseball. Let's stop doing this. Get out of our own way here. Speaking of baseball, we just got wrapped up with the Twins. They did lose earlier today because you know who's working right now? Chris Atterbury, the studio host. We talked about this upcoming game and the previous 5. That's coming up right after KFGO and CBS News.
So good. How do we stay
You're not a country guy, so it's going to take you a minute to get
well,
out.
yeah, it's already been 40.
Everybody said we never would.
Stuck like glue. Okay, I got there. Did you hear? I stumbled upon this last night because unfortunately I didn't have the ability to watch the Timberwolves. Yeah, I'm one of those. Cut the cord, all that nonsense, but we make do. But online, all I saw was not about the actual game, albeit people saying, boy, the Timberwolves are playing tough this first half here. It was about a girl that is now referred to as Glue Girl because this person came down and wanted to protest something, which I still haven't figured out. If you know what she was protesting, 35270. That's the Eye Consultants of North Dakota test them. But this Glue Girl went and glued her hand to the basketball court during the game. And I've seen now from a fan perspective, of course, everyone's got a recorder in their hands right now. It's a cell phone. And from the people nearby videotaping this, so you have people just kind of watching like, oh, what is going on? And there is a security guard. A woman comes down and gives a look and looks at everyone else, grabs her hand and gives a tug. There was enough adhesive between her hand and the court to where it took 2 tugs to remove her hand that was glued to the court. And then she was upset about it. Well, what did you expect to happen? No matter what, your hand was going to get pulled off this court somewhere. Idiotic. Blue Girl, tell me what she was protesting as we get you caught up with Paul Jiggins of the KFGO News Center.
Mostly cloudy, 34 degrees. The DOT and Highway Patrol have reopened I-94 east and westbound from Bismarck to Jamestown. While that closure is no longer in place, there is still a no travel advisory, and the drivers are encouraged to stay in place and travel only if necessary. Road conditions are expected to worsen throughout the day in that part of the state once again into the evening, and additional closures are expected. It does not appear that I-94 west of Bismarck will open yet today. Much of North Dakota has more snow on the way. Fargo-Moorhead escaped the latest blizzard and will likely miss most of round 2. Still, National Weather Service meteorologist Bill Barnett in Grand Forks says light snow and wind could complicate the morning commute locally.
That's when probably we will be seeing some snowfall and winds of 30 miles an hour, at least 20 to 30 sustained with some higher gusts. So that could be enough if you're driving in it just at the wrong time. You get some visibilities maybe down to a quarter mile. So that'll be our next thing to be concerned with. Not so much the volume of snow, but the coincidence of briefly heavy rates of snow falling with those winds.
15 inches of snow has fallen around Lankin and Park River in northeastern North Dakota. The Bismarck office of the Weather Service says a blizzard warning will remain in effect until tomorrow night, with visibilities under a quarter mile. Total snow accumulation of 15 to 18 inches is possible in northwestern and central North Dakota, with 15 to 24 inches in the south central and southwest. The spring blizzard is bringing back memories for some ranchers to 1997 as they protect their herds from the storm. This blizzard could bring up to 2 feet of snow to parts of the region, along with those strong winds. Julie Ellingson of the North Dakota Stockmen's Association says storms of this magnitude are very significant for ranchers as they care for their cattle. The storm is arriving in the middle of calving season. She says it leaves newborn livestock in a vulnerable position. It is estimated that 123,000 cattle valued at $59 million were lost in the 1997 April blizzard. Ellingson says, though the conditions are dangerous, the storm should bring much-needed moisture back to grazing pastures. Backers of a petition drive to term limit North Dakota lawmakers are pushing back against its rejection by the Secretary of State's office. The group says more than 29,000 signatures that is, were unlawfully disqualified. Secretary of State Al Jager says a review found the petitions were riddled with violations, and he says some may have been forged. Attorney General Drew Wrigley says his office is still deciding whether to pursue legal action against the group. A letter submitted by attorneys hired by the Term Limits Committee argues that there is no factual or legal basis to disqualify nearly 63% of the signatures submitted. The leader of a criminal gang called the Slither Gang has been sentenced to 25 years in prison for violent robberies. 26-year-old Abbott Aho, also known as Boogie of Fergus Falls, was sentenced in federal court in Fargo. Prosecutors say Aho and others often resorted to home invasions or setting up victims to meet in public and then rob them of drugs, money, guns, and personal property, later selling the drugs they stole. The crimes took place from January through May of 2019. Several co-conspirators have also been sentenced for their involvement in the violent robberies. Minnesota has a Mega Millions winner for $106 million. A single ticket sold in the St. Paul suburb of Ramsey matched all 6 numbers in last night's drawing, plus the gold Mega Ball 17. The $106 million jackpot has a cash option of $64 million. Mostly cloudy this afternoon. Fargo-Moorhead, we may see some sprinkles or flurries. Nothing detectable on radar in and around Fargo-Moorhead at the moment. Perhaps around 40 for the high. Cloudy tonight. Light snow may develop after midnight. 25. Cloudy, windy tomorrow. Some areas of light snow and some blowing snow, perhaps. 30. Mostly cloudy, windy for Friday. 28. Scattered snow showers or flurries. And some areas of blowing snow where new snow comes in. Fargo-Moorhead, it is mostly cloudy and 34. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Welcome back to Afternoons Live, 310 KFG. What time? It's Wednesday. You know what that means? It's time to be talking Twins. Chris Atterbury, the studio host of your Minnesota Twins. They got a day game going on. And boy, it's been a fun start to the season. At least that's my take. We'll see what his is right now. Chris, how you doing, my friend?
I'm tired. You know, we had that 90-minute rain delay last night. The basketball game next door actually ended before our game did. And it got pretty sloppy in the mud a little bit later on. So, and then a quick turnaround, and that means about 3 hours of sleep for me. But other than that, I'm good to go. Yeah, Clayton Kershaw on the mound.
And nobody glued their hands to any field or anything like that. I heard that happen across the street from here last night.
Remarkable.
Unreal.
Remarkable.
I haven't heard
Blue
the whole...
Girl went crazy viral. I actually texted my buddies with the St. Paul Saints, and knowing their knack for picking up on current events and having fun, I said, I'm assuming you'll have people gluing themselves to bases tonight. Like, what are we going to be doing over there in Lower Town?
Yeah, something just, the world has gone mad, I think is the only way I can describe it here. You know what? Some of the bats have gone mad over the last couple of games as well. I had the luxury of being at Saturday's game, and it looks like Byron Buxton's going to pull us out. I think it was in the 8th with that bomb that was 400-plus feet into the upper deck, and unfortunately weren't able to capitalize in that 9th inning. I got to say, Chris, with some of the people I was with, when it was Tyler Duffy on the mound Saturday, had people wondering again, just talking about the Rogers trade. I'm just curious, have you been hearing anything about, did we make a wrong move here? Or am I just hearing that from worried fans already?
Well, fans will say that for sure, right? Because Rogers is pretty much locked down, and he's 4 for 4 in saves, and we love the guy. But it's a club that I don't think you can judge how they're going to finish off games, certainly just yet. You know, Duffy hadn't pitched in a game for a week at that point in time since spring training. His first outing, gives up a couple of opposite field base hits. He's a guy who's had a pretty good track record. His ERA is below 1.5, 9th inning or later in his career. So he's not a stranger there. Emilio Pagan has saved games. Joe Smith is the active leader in games appeared in and has saved games. They've got options, and we haven't even got to Joan Duran, who has the ridiculous stuff throwing 102 miles an hour with the splinker. Do they need to figure out, in my opinion, kind of who's going to pitch when? I think so. I think every reliever I've ever spoken to wants to know kind of when they're going to pitch. And I know they kind of know who they'll probably face. They have chunks. Would I feel better if we knew who was getting the ball in the 9th inning every night? Absolutely. But that's not how this front office and their staff thinks. And so they're not worried about it. As for the trade, was it good, was it bad? We'll probably know more today because Chris Paddock was the other side of that trade along with Emilio Pagan. And Paddock will get his first start at Twins uniform against the Dodgers and Clayton Kershaw.
One thing that we'll be watching, as you say, it's so dang early, but you know how us fans get to where we want instant gratification. If not, we'll find a way to complain about it. But one thing that we weren't really complaining about, Buxton hasn't skipped a beat. I mean, Byron coming out and just doing what he does. It's good to see him back as strong as he was early part of last season, Chris.
Yeah, sometimes we forget that he was the best player in baseball for the first month last year, and it wasn't even close. And that included Mike Trout off to the best start of his Hall of Fame career. Byron is a special dude, man. We saw him make some amazing defensive plays last night. So when he takes an offer at the plate, he's still helping your team win. He's hitting everything hard. He's so confident in who he is right now. He's not letting a lot of other guys' opinions get in his head. He's just comfortable being himself and playing his game. He's going to DH today. And Byron has really matured into not only a great player, but a real forceful leader on this team. And he's worth the price of a ticket every single day.
Yeah, there's no doubt there. And one thing that's been kind of exciting, not only watching Buxton, as you say, price of a ticket, it's well worth it. But, I mean, the offense has just found multiple ways that they can beat you. I mean, Luis Ariz has started off strong. It's been good. It reminds me of, is the Bomba squad back? I know that there's some of that hype that we can win by putting up a lot of runs. We've got that athletic ability again. It's just if we can balance that out with that strong pitching that, again, I think it's just so dang early. I mean, we're 5 games into the season and time will tell. But great to start. We're 2-3. We split with Seattle. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm comfortable with it. I'm just kind of curious. What are you hearing from people out in Minneapolis?
You know what? I think people are excited to see what it's going to become. Yeah. This is an exciting group of players individually, and they do have the ability to be fun in different ways. For as great as Byron is, to watch him catch the ball or hit one into the third deck or into the gap and then sprint around the bases. Luis Ariz is just as fun to watch foul off 15 pitches and then squirt one to left field. I love seeing him pinch hit against the lefty. I loved seeing him also bat in the 3-hole the other day behind Buxton and Correa. What I'm looking for, and again, time will tell, is this going to be an offense like the last couple of years where on some days you're like, this offense is the 27 Yankees, and then other days just nada. Last year we averaged right in the middle of the pack in terms of runs a game, but we were third in the league in most games with 3 or fewer runs. So it was feast or famine. And I don't think you can be a contending team with a feast or famine offense. Yeah. So I'm looking for a consistent offense. On the day when the ball's not in the seats, are we finding other ways to beat you? Are we finding other ways to get runs on the board? Are we finding ways when Byron's cold? Are we going to be able to do it if Carlos and Jorge are cold? Who else can pick up the baton? Can we steal a base, move a runner, and use a sac fly to get a run when we need one instead of selling out to try to hit a home run and striking out as a result? That's what I'm looking for from the offense. The other thing that I was concerned about coming in, and I remain concerned about, is can we stop anybody from stealing a base? 5 for 5 against the Twins this year in stolen bases. Dodgers stole 3 in an inning last night. Mm-hmm. We saw a stolen base lead to an error that led to a run the game before because I think the book is out, and it's going to be a track meet against the Minnesota Twins until we prove we can throw somebody out.
Chris Atterbury, our guest, is studio host here in Minnesota Twins. I want to thank Lion-X of Fargo-Moorhead and now Jiffy Lube, our sponsors, for this segment. Last night with the rain delay, you got the day game today. I'm looking forward in the calendar heading out to Boston, taking on the Red Sox over the weekend into Monday, an 11 a.m. game. I think they have what's known as Patriots Day starting out there, the big celebration. Do you, as a broadcaster, prefer those early games, those midday or evening games?
I cannot stand this part of the schedule where we have 4 games at 4 different times in Boston. Yeah. Get me into the rhythm of the season when every game is at 7 o'clock, and I am a happy man. Because otherwise, who's taking my daughter to school? Who's picking her up? Can you do this? Can you do that? These are the times of the schedule that test the marriage of everybody with kids who works in baseball, even if you don't have kids. Yeah. And then something happens like last night where, okay, I'll be home at a decent hour, or you won't because of a 90-minute rain delay. So you're staggering into the house at 2 a.m. You're waking up everybody else. then you're getting up to come to the ballpark early the next day, and you are just a burden on your family. So, yeah, get these early ones out of the way, man. Let's get into a rhythm where we play at night and then day games on the weekends, and I'll be smiling.
Hey, you know what? I feel you, man. I do. I appreciate you taking time today, though, knowing just how hectic your schedule is, Chris. I'm going to let you go, get ready for this game. And you know what? I tell you what, we'll talk again next week, all right?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, you take care, buddy. Chris Atterbury is the studio host of your Minnesota Twins. I want to thank again Linex of Fargo-Moorhead and Jiffy Lube for allowing us to talk all things Twins as we do Wednesdays here at 310. This is KFGO Fargo. Stick around.
Back to the topic of this glue girl for a moment. Now, if you're just joining us, last night at the Timberwolves game, they had a play-in game, and they won, so they are now going down to Memphis to a 7-game series that does start this weekend. But a girl glued her hand to the court in protest of something. And I believe the something from what I gathered, was I haven't been able to verify, but we've had the conversation on this very show with our farm and ranch team about the avian flu, how tragic that is for, those producers out there. So, because if it gets in the population, well, there's one recourse. And though I understand that she was protesting the fact that a lot of these chickens or turkeys, whatever it is, had to be, put down because of this avian flu. And if I'm wrong, and if you've got the actual story, because I haven't been able to find it, so you can let me know at 35270. But I can't imagine that she had a large window of time to apply that glue to her hand, get courtside, and put her hand down. What kind of glue do you think it was? Because it stuck. If you saw the video that I was talking about earlier, the security guard had to do 2 tugs to remove her hand from the court. I'm going to go Gorilla Glue. I'm guessing that it was Gorilla Glue that she snuck in, applied to her hand, and firmly pressed it down. Because if you've used Gorilla Glue, those commercials, they don't lie. Stuff works wonders.
Yeah, my brain immediately went to just the standard crazy glue, super glue, whatever brand you have. Because that, if you've worked with that and had 2 of your fingers stick together, it takes some effort to get them apart.
Okay, that's a fair, because I've been the moron who has done that before.
And it leaves
Both
that kind of
unintentional.
The picture of the aftermath, the glue handprint.
I don't see, but that's the thing. The aftermath handprint looked like good old Elmer's glue. There's no way it was.
No.
Now I don't know whether that was a layer of, maybe her fingerprints were left on the court. I do not know. But I'm going Gorilla. I will stick by, because they've got some of that instant, like, sealing Gorilla glue. If you've ever been to, as I've termed, man malls, and you got that section of adhesives that you need, you got your caulking, you got A, B, and C. Yep. There is a variety now of the Gorilla Glue.
Yeah, for whatever project you want. Waterproof, clear, wood. Most of the wood adhesives take a while to dry. They're not instantaneous, so it's got to be something super glue related.
Something out of this world. Should I be proofreading these messages?
Probably.
Okay, because trust me, you get down rabbit holes, and when you saw the term glue girl going all over Twitter, I don't know if I want to. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but quite frankly, I did. It was because of the Timberwolves in proximity to it. In fact, it was at theirs. I'm going to proofread the messages coming in before I just dive in, because if you put a question mark in the teleprompter, I'm going to read it. But you can send them in to 35270. While you're there, don't forget our meat raffle is coming up on Thursday. You can't win if you don't play. You text MEAT, MEAT, to 35270. That meat's sponsored by Barnesville Grocery. $150 worth of meat going out of this studio tomorrow. I want to also thank Bar 9. They're putting on a party next Thursday, a Traeger giveaway. You text in, get registered. We'll tell you who wins tomorrow. You got locked into KFGO Fargo.
News and weather this hour brought to you by Laney's, your one-stop solution for all of your plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical, duct cleaning, and sewer and drain needs. Laney's, nobody does it better.
Fargo-Moorhead mostly cloudy, 34. I'm Paul Jurgens. The DOT and State Patrol have reopened I-94 east and westbound from Bismarck to Jamestown. Still, there is a no travel advisory in effect, and drivers are encouraged to stay in place and only travel if absolutely necessary. It does not appear that conditions will improve enough, though, to open I-94 west of Bismarck to Montana at any point yet today. In fact, the road conditions may worsen throughout the day into this evening, and additional road closures are a possibility. Bill Barrett, that is, the National Weather Service meteorologist in Grand Forks, says there's a break in the snowfall now and intensity of blizzard conditions in eastern North Dakota, northwest Minnesota, before snowfall coverage and winds increase again this evening into tomorrow.
We are in between two parts of the same storm, essentially. That's why there is a lull up and down the valley, except for Devil's Lake Basin, where it's still certainly snowing, not quite as heavily as it did, yesterday afternoon and yesterday evening. So that's where the highest totals are. I mean, I'm aware of, say, up to 20 inches. That's about the highest, 15 to 20 inches here. Grand Forks, about 11 or 12.
Some of the heaviest snowfall has been in the Devil's Lake area. The highest amounts reported so far in the upper Red River valleys around Park River, Lankin, and Walsh County, about 15 inches. Barrett says blizzard conditions are not expected to move out of the state entirely until later tomorrow. In the midst of blizzard conditions yesterday afternoon, 3 people were hurt in a 2-vehicle crash on a county road west of Minto. That happened around 4 yesterday. The state patrols, the 61-year-old Douglas Jepweski lost control of his vehicle and slid sideways on the icy road and collided with an oncoming vehicle. Jepweski and his passenger, 73-year-old George Tybert, were seriously hurt. A juvenile passenger and the other vehicle had minor injuries. All were taken to Alter and Grand Forks. They're all from Peasic, North Dakota. Police detained 2 people this morning in North Fargo, that during a high-risk search warrant. A perimeter was set up around 921 26th Street North. A flash sound diversionary device was used. SWAT assisted in the operation. Police say it's an ongoing investigation, and they're not releasing any additional information. Mostly cloudy, 33. This is KFGO News. $33 degrees. This is KFGO News. Minnesota has a Mega Millions winner for $106 million. A single ticket sold in the St. Paul suburb of Ramsey matched all 6 numbers in last night's drawing, plus the gold Mega Ball 17. The $106 million jackpot has a cash option of $64 million. Some people are calling for changes in the way officers deal with children after police in the St. Paul suburb of Maplewood handcuffed 4 juveniles in an investigation for which they were later cleared. Police say 2 12-year-olds, a 16-year-old, and a 10-year-old were handcuffed for about 20 minutes as officers investigated reports of shots fired. The children, it turned out, were not involved. An attorney says the case is an example of implicit bias. 3 of the kids are black and 1 is Hispanic. Minnesota's black bears will be emerging from hibernation soon, and the DNR is offering some tips to avoid any confrontations.
Because there are no berries or green vegetation early in the spring, bears will be looking for food sources. The DNR says to check your property for any unsecured food sources that may attract bears because once a bear finds a food source, it will likely return. Don't leave food, coolers, and unclean barbecue grills outside. If you feed birds, you risk attracting bears, so hang bird feeders 10 feet off the ground and at least 4 feet out from the nearest trees. The DNR says don't put out feed for wildlife, like corn pellets or molasses blocks.
That's reporter Tasha Radel. KFGO Weather Center forecast. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy this afternoon. Maybe some isolated sprinkles or flurries. Clouds tonight, a chance of light snow after midnight, 25 for our low. For tomorrow, KFGO meteorologist Tom Shavansky is looking for cloudy conditions, a strong northwest wind, 20 to 40 and gusty. Areas of light snow may produce some blowing snow. Friday, cloudy, windy, snow showers, scattered snow showers or flurries. Additional blowing snow is possible where new snow falls, 28 for the high. Mostly cloudy, it's 33. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Okay, I did the proofreading of the text coming in about Glue Girl. People telling me to be careful. I'm heeding your warning. Listen, Tyler, I got to believe that the glue lady had the glue on her hand for a bit to get it to set up. Good Lord, LOL. Yeah, it was just so idiotic. But perhaps she was sitting in the stands for quite some time. I don't know. All I know is whatever adhesive, whatever glue she used, did the job, and it did it quite well in the time frame that she was down at the court. If you haven't seen the video, you can find that on Twitter, wherever you be careful Googling Glue Girl, as somebody warns me. When we come back after CBS National News headlines, keeping it real with Eric Hatch, that's today at 4 p.m. Any real estate related questions, you can send those in right now. You remember the whistleblower hotline that said the Jamestown mayor, there was all this harassment? Yeah, well, the investigation wrapped up, and as we suspected, came true. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that after we get you into these national news headlines. You got it locked into KFGO Fargo. Stick around. Well, how long ago has this been now? February? Was it February of this year? That a report came out. And it was done in a way that is beyond frustrating. The fact that you've got a news organization in this town that does TV. I mean, it's Valley News Live. They've got this whistleblower hotline. And they take that and run with things at times without verifying or without digging, without investigating some of this. And this is the case in point, which is the malpractice on journalism. Now, I'm going to say that with the caveat that I've repeated to you multiple times. I am not a journalist. I share with you my opinion, and you share yours with me. And sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. But the way of which I, as a commentator, or test things versus what you expect from a journalist are vastly different, or at least they should be. The situation that was reported through some anonymous whistleblower hotline was about the Jamestown mayor, who was out there circulating petitions, as many people had to do going into these local elections that happen in June, just as we started the show and we talked about what your biggest concerns are wherever you're listening. And the long story short that I'm going to try to summarize this for you is the mayor stopped in at a bar, right or wrong. I have no idea about the legality of that. The accusation was that, hey, you can't be gathering these signatures at a bar where people are intoxicated. That's what is in this report that I have right now, or that's what the individuals were telling the mayor. And, the individual that was approaching the mayor that said that, well, he put a business card in a pocket when the conversation was over because, you know what, I think as, quite frankly, unfortunately, has been more and more the case, things got a little uneasy, things got a little tense. The conversation over, the mayor folded his business card in half and tried to give it to the individual. On the second or third try, the mayor managed to put the business card in the caller's pocket. And the caller was wearing men's clothing and a baseball cap. Heinrich assumed the caller was a guy and had no idea that individual was a female. And then when that individual refused the business card, Heinrich tried to put the card in the zipper jacket pocket. Well, that's where someone else steps in and goes, well, hey, you can't touch anybody. And then it turned into, well, you touched a breast. And it all pans out now in this investigation that, well, that doesn't constitute for anything. And in fact, the caller admitting as such. But the issue I have with this whole situation is now, if you Google or if you look up this mayor who's in his 70s, Mayor Heinrich, this allegation, because of a reporting that was done in a way of which I don't think meets journalistic standards, is going to be forever tied to him, even though it turns out that none of it met the standards of which what the whistleblower called in. So I bring this up because, one, I hope his name has now forever been cleared, but unfortunately, because the internet does not forget, it will be there because of some tactics done from a news media organization here in town. In an approach that should not constitute making it to the journalistic side of your media consumption. It would be one thing to have a commentator, but certainly you would, with this situation, you would do a little bit more vetting than just blasting it out there, right? So it's unfortunate for him. At 73, now that I was able to pull it up, Mayor Heinrich will forever have this stuck to him because of a news outlet here in town. So keep that in mind if you're consuming that type of tip sort of situation here in the Valley about what could be probably a better product out there. 35270, you can let me know if you agree, disagree. That's the I Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. You want to call me, let me have it, that's fine. Laney Studio Line's open, 5948. I'm just saying, do better. Do better if you're a journalist out there than just relying on a whistleblower hotline. Get you this weather update from Too Tall Tom Schmansky. We'll wrap up the second hour, then keeping it real with Eric Hatch. I already got some messages coming in about adding a deck to a house. This is your opportunity. Free real estate advice from Eric Hatch. That's coming up at 4:10 here on KFGO. Stick around. Bottom line is, if you're going to be printing or airing those serious level of accusations, you better do your homework when it comes to the mayor of Jamestown, with him being cleared here. I do hope that their follow-up is aired as well. There, I got it off my chest. Had to do it. I will switch gears here. I do want to give you one more reminder. Thank you already to the multiple questions coming in for Eric Hatch. He'll be in about 10 minutes' time, keeping it real with Eric Hatch every second Wednesday of the month, and that is already upon us for the month of April. But tonight, 6 o'clock on these very airwaves, I want to remind you, you can come join us in person as well. It's down at the Sanctuary Event Center. Doors open at 6 o'clock for the first mayoral debate. That's happening tonight right here on KFGO. Heidkamp, myself, 6 o'clock to 6:30. We'll give you a little preview. I'll tell you about what I'm going to be watching, what I'm going to be listening for. He'll do the same. And then we're turning it over to the journalists, the ones that do their homework, the ones that go and make sure that the T's are crossed, I's dotted. They're going to be asking questions. And I want to thank those of you that submitted your questions at KFGO.com, because some of those are going to be asked tonight of the candidates that are able to attend. The debate itself starts 6:30 and goes until 8. So 6:30 to 8 is when the actual candidates will be on stage taking all those questions. You can watch that at KFGO.com. You can listen on 790 AM, 94.1, or 104.7 FM KFGO. So I'm looking forward to that. Election season's upon us. I know people are saying, gee, it's April. June's a little ways off. But you know what? Filing deadline's there. Candidates have been running. You've already heard that we had a candidate call in earlier, self-described candidate saying, look, I've been out canvassing. Those conversations have already started because that tight window with everything coming up between now and that election day coming up in June. So this is going to be your first opportunity to hear from those that want to be mayor here in Fargo. So I'd encourage you, if you have any of those concerns, I was taking those earlier. I'm jotting them down because during that preview, pregame show, I'll throw some of those out there as well, especially when it comes to what we're going to be diving into here in a moment, because we've talked about the assessed value of homes. Somebody said I should get the county auditor on, or an assessor on, to talk about what that might mean, because and I think they're right to point out, just because valuations go up doesn't automatically mean your property taxes will go up. But that is a very real concern for some people out there, especially those fixed income individuals, of which we were talking about earlier. So that's one that we will be following along as well. 237-5948. That's the ladies' studio line. You can text in as well to the Ag Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. That's at 35270. One thing that we didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday, and we haven't touched on it today either, is the fact that down or over in Brooklyn, where you had that shooting yesterday, they caught him today. And the thing that we really got to, I think, discuss is the fact that you've got the transit system, which is public, right? Now, the concern that I've been hearing through the CBS News updates from those that were out there, and I know through secondhand individuals that have relatives out there as well, and how scared they were about the situation, because this guy goes out, commits this act, and then got away till today. But one of the things that left people scratching their heads is why, with the public transit, with all of that going on, you've got the security cameras that are also paid for through public dollars. They weren't working. And who's in charge? Who would be responsible to make sure that those are functioning regularly? Now, the caveat to that earlier today, and one of the reporting was, well, was it because somebody wasn't paying attention, or was it because this individual, who's now behind bars, went and actually took them offline? I think that's a really important question that deserves an answer, because if somebody was asleep at the wheel, there's got to be some accountability there. Because thankfully they were able to catch the guy because of other witness of other things that they were able to pull together, including a U-Haul vehicle that was taken. But when you have all this reliance on video, think about how much we rely on video when it comes to security and safety. This is one of those that it could have been a lot worse had this not been resolved in other means. But if it was because somebody wasn't paying attention, somebody wasn't doing their job in public transit, I want to know. I think you would want to know. So it's something, a conversation we'll have at another time, because I'm up against the clock. CBS National News on the way. Your questions about real estate, you're selling, you're buying, you're just wondering what the market's going to be doing, Eric Catchy's the person to ask. Many of you already threw in your questions. There's still room for you. The whole last hour of Afternoons Live today dedicated to your real estate questions. You can call us at 237-5948 and get on hold there, or you can text in at 35270. We'll ask Eric Hatch right after the CBS News. Check in with Paul Jurgens as well. I'm Tyler Axtis, your host. This is Afternoons Live on 790 AM, 94.1 and 104.7 FM, KFGO.
We're at the glass wall where it says that the 4th of July has won for best holiday, and I feel shook right now. So how am I doing? I'm shook.
I don't even Father's Day.
The IT2 brackets have been controversial at best.
It's rigged. I've got to assume that there's a campaign out there that has, hey, let's pick the most ridiculous outcome, and just all of us are going to vote for that.
Yeah.
There's no way Mother's and Father's Day gets to a final competition here against 4th of July when you've got Halloween in the mix.
Yeah.
No.
Halloween, free candy. You get to dress up. Mother's and Father's Day. Mother's Day, you spoil the mother, and Father's Day, I go and grill and take care of the kids. So it's something else. Yeah. Poor me, right?
Yeah, woe is me, says Eric. Eric Hatch, you know what? He's taking all your real estate questions. You can send those into 35270. You want to call us? We allow that. 237-5948. He's here for you for the next hour right after this KFGO News.
KFGO News, mostly cloudy. Fargo-Moorhead, it's 34 degrees. I'm Paul Jerkins. Charges will not be filed against Jamestown Mayor Dwayne Heinrich, who had been under investigation after a woman claimed he inappropriately touched her at a Jamestown bar. In January, a woman called to police complained that Heinrich was belligerent, poking her in the chest and touching her breast. Stutsman County State's Attorney Fritz Fremgen says there is not sufficient evidence to prosecute the mayor. Fremgen's report says the woman told a Bureau of Criminal Investigation agent that any touching of her breast was inadvertent, and because of the way she was dressed, Heinrich may not have known that the person was a woman. Backers of a petition drive to term limit North Dakota lawmakers are pushing back against its rejection by the Secretary of State's office. The group says more than 29,000 signatures are unlawfully disqualified. Secretary of State Al Jaeger says a review that is, found the petitions were riddled with violations, including signatures that were likely forged. Attorney General Drew Wigley says his office is still deciding whether to pursue legal action against the group. Minnesota has a Mega Millions winner for $106 million. Mega Millions has confirmed that a single ticket sold in the St. Paul suburb of Ramsey matched all 6 numbers in last night's drawing, plus the gold Mega Ball 17. The $106 million jackpot has a cash option of $64 million. It was sold at the Holiday convenience store in Ramsey. The report shows Minnesota could face a dire healthcare worker shortage in 5 years. About 1 in 5 rural health providers say they plan to leave the profession, with the largest projected loss to be among doctors, according to that study. Carrie Mortrude, an RN and Nurses Association representative, says she worries about patients in outstate Minnesota.
We have to make sure that we don't let the reason that they can't recruit people to any kind of industry, especially healthcare, be a reason why patients in those areas should receive less care or substandard care.
The report says staffing shortages have led to longer hours and worker burnout. Registered nurses are Minnesota's most in-demand occupation, with 43,000 job openings expected over the next decade. Fargo-Moorhead tonight, mostly cloudy, maybe some light snow in the overnight hours, and about 25 for our low. Winds will pick up northwest at 20 to 40 tomorrow and gusty. High of about 30 degrees with areas of light snow. Friday, mostly cloudy, windy once again, scattered snow showers or flurries, some blowing snow in areas that pick up snow, and 28 for Friday's high. Mostly cloudy, it's 34. Paul Jerkins, News Radio, KFGO.
Judging by our nonverbals, Eddie Money, Take Me Home Tonight is a top-notch song for this segment.
It's a banger, is what it is. Is that what the kids are saying now? I'm not sure.
That's how I refer to it. I'm no longer a kid, so if I'm trying to be hip and cool, I hope they are.
Are you in your 30s or 40s now?
I'm 35, so
35.
I'm right
okay.
dab in the middle there,
okay. Yeah, it's still a banger for you. For me, it's like, oh, that's an old-timey jam. Yeah.
I've asked this question before. Because you turn on classic rock, which I hope you're not doing, during 2 to 5. Keep it locked in to 790 AM or 104.7 FM KFGO. But what I have, just in passing, I'm hearing songs that should not, in my opinion, be on the classic rock stations right
like
now.
90s hits.
I know, the grunge era. In your mind, how far removed from it being in the top 10, how many years have to pass before it's dubbed a classic rock?
Classic rock, in my opinion, is still 70s.
Same.
I think.
I mean, I'm talking Led Zeppelin, that sort of
Zeppelin,
thing.
Floyd,
Yeah,
Stones. Yep. Oh, cute.
Wow, that was
wasn't
not
that
timed
nice?
out. This is not scripted at all, I assure you. So that's the thing. Like, that will forever be classic rock for me, is the 70s.
Like, I'd let some like Motley Crue start to slide in there,
Sure.
earlies to mid 80s. But then you're drifting into Guns N' Roses in mid to late 80s, and then you have hair bands. Do you count hair bands? That would make Bon Jovi classic rock. And then all of a sudden it moves into grunge, and then you're talking all the Nirvanas and Stone Temple Pilots of the world.
See, that's what I'm hearing now. I'm hearing Nirvana. And now I get it, because you think, was in the 90s, and that was quite some time ago.
Have you found yourself complaining about kids these days? And do you watch the MTV and say, what is this crap?
Yeah, but I was saying that when I was still a kid.
Okay, yep.
When the real world was taking over the television waves, I was like, what is this? Give me my MTV. Not TRL. I don't want Total Request Live. I want the whole song.
Yeah.
I don't want Carson Daly taking up more time than the music video. And I was saying that as that was the hottest show on MTV.
And now you enjoy Carson Daly on the Today Show. So it's all full circle.
Yeah. He had to get into that right genre for me.
That's
all
right.
it was. Hey, well, should we talk real estate? You've been asking questions at 35270. Eric Hatch is your guy for the next hour. You ready for these?
Yeah, well, let me say, I came in and you're like, hey, we have questions already. I'm like, that's so fun that people are wanting to ask questions, and please keep texting and keep calling. I want it to be a conversation because it's more fun for us all that way.
It is. Let's dive right on in. Hi, Tyler. Could you ask, they said, could you please ask Eric?
Oh, play.
If it's worth adding a deck to my house for selling in today's market. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So the quick answer is probably not. There's lots of different types of homes. So if we're talking a rambler, you're going to probably put in a patio before you put in a deck, depending on concrete costs and wood costs and labor costs. So things to consider there. If you have a 2-story home, you may look to do the same. If you're in a bi-level, split level, tri-level, anything like that, now you're dealing with something that's suspended off the ground. That actually doesn't impact the cost, but obviously you're not putting concrete where a deck would go. Mm-hmm. And so I know this. I put on a new deck on my lake place this time last year. I got in quick. I said I want to be the first one there, and I put on a maintenance-free deck with maintenance-free railings. How much do you think that costs?
Last year before inflation?
I mean, this like COVID prices were ticking up, but yeah. I got in quick. There still wasn't massive labor shortages, and this deck was about 160 square feet. What do you think that costs?
I have not a clue.
$25,000.
Hey, I was going to go with 30, so I would have overshot just a little bit.
I remember on a house I had up in North Fargo, it was the first house my wife and I lived in by El Zagal. Awesome neighborhood. I put on a deck of probably a little smaller size, 120 or 130 feet. I paid $3,300 for the materials and then a couple grand for the labor. So 5x the cost has gone up. Now, the materials I used there I used green treated wood and that sort. And so now it depends on the style of wood you're using and everything else. But do I think that because here's the question, does it financially make sense? If that deck is going to cost you 20 grand, will that help you sell for 20 grand or more? And in this market, no, I don't think it will, because a buyer is going to want the square footage of the house before you need those extra amenities to make your property sell. So that was a very long explanation to say, I don't think you need to do anything fancy because there are buyers begging for houses right now.
You know, in a deck and patio type setup is one of those where I do think people have their own wants of, hey, this is what I envision in my backyard type thing. So, that's one of those, you have some projects that if you do the remodeling, it might not be what that seller's, in fact, wanting or looking for.
Well, the easiest way to break that down is if you ever watch HGTV, they'll say, well, paint your walls neutral. Make sure that the colors are neutral because somebody's going to want to put their own flair in. If somebody wants a wallpapered wall or a purple room, whatever it may be, they can do that. And if you have a purple room, it will oftentimes hinder the sale of your property. Similarly, so as you were saying, Tyler, if you have a deck, if it's not the deck design or the layout that the person would want, it now feels like a project instead of a palette, right? People oftentimes will want a palette. There are certainly situations where somebody's going to want to be totally move-in ready and they're not going to do a thing, but usually people want to put their own customized touch on it.
Other questions come in. In fact, I'm going to stay with this theme. There's a variety of areas we're going today. But this one just came in. It's about a deck. So, Eric, what is your feeling about a four-season sunroom in place of a deck?
So the cost on that is what's going to get away from you. My wife and I put a sunroom on our house, and it's a four-season sunroom. It is the room we live in. Oh my gosh, it is so great. But anytime you're doing something four-season means you're now dealing with a foundation. And traditionally, the foundation, you can't just go to like where a patio is at. You're going deep into the underbelly of the ground. You're going all the way down, and that's when it gets really expensive because now you're putting this onto a project or a property that's already there. So you have to be more meticulous with the construction. Then you're pouring concrete, you're putting in all the electrical. I'm assuming you're not going to have water there, but you're putting in your electrical and everything else. And even if it's a crawl space, I know that our sunroom shocked us at the price. Windows are crazy expensive, like over the top crazy expensive. I can't believe how expensive it is to see through something. And yet that's the way that it is. And then you're tying it all together. So if you're doing it to sell, I don't recommend it. Again, I think somebody will do that if that's their personal home. If you're doing that to live in, it will give you great value. Is it going to be the dollar for dollar return on your investment? Probably not. Probably not. But I do think for my wife and my family, that is the greatest room in our house, and it's where we live all the time. So if it's going to be the right feel for you, that's what you should do.
More questions coming in, and we'll get to those, including some siding. I see new construction, home inspection. I see farm teardown. It's all on the table. Eric Hatch, he's here for you. Text him in 35270. That's the iConsultants of North Dakota Text Club. I'm Tyler Axis. This is Afternoons Live on KFGO. 5270, but you know the rules. We take phone calls first, and that's where we're going to connect with Steve. Steve, thanks for calling in. How you doing?
Hey, doing great here. How about you guys?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. You got Eric Hatch. I'm Tyler Axis. Got a question for Eric?
So anyway, everybody knows the lake home market is really hot, what about like rural properties close in, not too far out from Fargo-Moorhead area that, hobby farm, acreage, and river frontage maybe?
What's the
market like on that? I was wondering if you could kind of talk about rural properties a little bit.
You bet. Happy to, and thanks for the call.
You're welcome.
You're right about lake property. It is white hot right now. People, as they've traveled a little bit less, and as people have accrued a little more wealth, now they're finding themselves jumping into the second home market in a really big sort of way. So we're seeing huge property values increase. Also, there's been a lot of heated debate in Lakes area because I know Otter Tail County reassessed all their properties, and so people are freaking out about that. But nonetheless, your question about rural is always an interesting thing. You get outside of the Fargo-Moorhead metro, even 5 or 10 minutes. Let's say on the North Dakota side, you're in Mapleton or Harwood, in that sort of direction. Or on the Minnesota side of things, let's say you land yourself in a Barnesville or a Glendon type of area. What we see there is that there is less supply, of course. So when a property does hit the market, oh my gosh, people salivate over it, Steve, right? But the people that salivate are the people that are choosing to live in those smaller areas or out in the rural type of area. And so whether it be something with some acreage and some privacy, or they're in a small little community, there's less supply, of course, but usually there's still less demand. So if the house doesn't sell in a couple of weeks, it's going to be a little while until it sells. Let's say you put your house on the market and you lived up in Ulen, as an example. That's either going to sell in the first 7 days or it's going to take 7 months. And I use that as an exaggeration, but that certainly can be true and is more the case. Is it's either going to sell quickly or it's going to take an astronomical amount of time compared to the Fargo-Moorhead area.
Does the time difference in getting that sold, does that increase or impact the price as much in a rural spot like Steve's talking about versus, say, here in the FM area?
I think that if you have a rural property and if you put it on the market and it doesn't get any showings in the first couple of weeks, one of two things happens. Either you priced it wrong, so all the buyers said, I'm not interested at that price, or there's just not buyers in that area right now. The same is true of high-priced homes in town. Let's say you have $1 million house. You put that on the market and it doesn't get any showings for the first couple of weeks. And you're like, man, did I price this wrong? But maybe there aren't any buyers looking in that range at that time. Because anytime you shrink down the buyer market, you have to have more patience in adjusting that price and making sure you get it right from the get-go.
Very good. Steve, appreciate the phone call. You call back anytime. Another question for you in the text club. Tyler, can you ask Eric, do you think it makes sense to do steel siding versus vinyl? Do you think the cost difference is made up by the increase in the resale?
I'm going to be blunt on this. Unless you have a home valued over $500,000 or $600,000, I don't think that the consumer will care as much as you would maybe care as the homeowner if it's steel versus vinyl. Steel traditionally is a larger expense. I can't tell you if it's 1, 2, 3 times 50%. I don't know that answer, but I do know that because of the current market that we're in, because of the lack of inventory that we have, a buyer is going to be more concerned about getting the house than they are getting the house with the steel siding. So if you're building right now, if that's where you're looking to our texter and trying to make the decision, do you put on steel siding or do you put on vinyl? Understand that if your house is north of $500,000 or $600,000, you again have a limited, smaller market of people that want to purchase that. And that's why you have to have extra amenities, extra upgrades, so your house will stand out against the competition. Anything under that $500,000 price right now, and people just want a house. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I've never seen it like this before, ever. I've been selling real estate since 2006. I've never seen it like this. So the answer I'm giving today is different than the answer I would have given 2 years ago. Yeah.
See it slow down. I got 2 minutes before you got to take a break here.
Mm-hmm.
Has it slowed down at all over the course of the last year? I mean, last year it's just going crazy, and now it feels like it's still there.
It's hard to say because our market right now has 30% less homes that have been listed year to date versus this time last year.
Really?
And so I don't know if it's slowing down because there's just not enough supply. And the rest of the country is not experiencing what we're experiencing. And so I actually think this is a ripple effect from the rough winter that we had. And it's still a rough winter.
Still here.
You know, and so because of that, that's this divide that's happening. Is I can't tell you, is this just market pressure or are there actually a series of problems that we're going to be facing? And I think it's weather related for the most part right now, but the pressure's still ungodly high.
Very good. Eric Hatch is our guest for the next 30 minutes. You can continue to send your questions in 35270, or if you want to be like Stephen Cole at 237-5948. We'll get to all these text messages. We got somebody about new home inspection on new construction, lakeshore properties, somebody talking about wanting to sell a 7-acre farm. It's all there. I've got them, and I'll try to get to them as best I can. Get you caught up with some KFGO news. Paul Jurgens of that KFGO News Center. Don't forget, in about an hour and a half time, these airwaves are going to have the Fargo mayoral debate. Between that and now, though, you got the drive with Jack Sunday and Hennessy on hockey before the mayoral debate. That's going to be coming up in just a little bit of time. Your real estate questions, whether it's buying, selling, home inspections, do you do this construction upgrade? That's all on the table. You're listening to 790 AM, 94.1 FM, and 104.7 FM, KFGO.
KFGO News, mostly cloudy. Fargo-Moorhead, it's 34. I'm Paul Jurgens. Charges will not be filed against Jamestown Mayor Dwayne Heinrich, who had been under investigation after a woman claimed he inappropriately touched her at a Jamestown bar. In January, a woman called police to complain that Heinrich was belligerent, poking her in the chest and touching her breast. Stutzman County State's Attorney Fritz Fremgen says there is not sufficient evidence to prosecute the mayor. Fremgen's report says the woman told a Bureau of Criminal Investigation agent that any touching of her breast was inadvertent, and because of the way she was dressed, Heinrich may not have known that she was a woman. Bill Barrett, a National Weather Service meteorologist in Grand Forks, says there's a break in the snowfall intensity of blizzard conditions in eastern North Dakota and northwest Minnesota, but he expects snowfall coverage and winds to increase again this evening into tomorrow.
We are in between two parts of the same storm, essentially. That's why there is a lull up and down the valley, except for Devil's Lake Basin, where it's still certainly snowing, not quite as heavily as it did, yesterday afternoon and yesterday evening. So that's where the highest totals are. I mean, I'm aware of, say, up to 20 inches. That's about the highest, 15 to 20 inches here. Grand Forks, about 11 or 12.
Park River and Lankin in Walsh County reporting about 15 inches. Barrett says the blizzard conditions are not expected to move out of the state until sometime tomorrow. 34 degrees. This is KFGO News. $34 degrees. This is KFGO News. Reporter Mark Fry says someone has struck it rich with a Mega Millions jackpot ticket in Minnesota.
A Mega Millions ticket purchased at a Holiday gas station in Ramsey matched all 6 numbers in last night's drawing for the $106 million prize that comes with a $64.5 million cash option. Winners have 1 year to come forward, and Minnesota Lottery Executive Director Adam Prock says there really is no timeline when it comes to winners claiming their prize.
Some people wake up and can't wait to get that ticket out of their hand. They're nervous about having it around, and others want to make sure that they have every detail taken care of before they come in.
It's the first time that a winning Mega Millions ticket has been sold in Minnesota since the state joined the game back in 2010.
Backers of a petition drive to term limit North Dakota lawmakers are pushing back against its rejection by the Secretary of State's office. The group says more than 29,000 signatures were unlawfully disqualified. Secretary of State Al Jaeger says a review found the petitions were riddled with violations, including signatures that were likely forged. Attorney General Drew Wrigley says his office is still deciding whether to pursue legal action against that group. Some people are calling for changes to the way officers deal with children after police in the St. Paul suburb of Maplewood handcuffed 4 juveniles in an investigation for which they were later cleared. Police say 2 12-year-olds, a 16-year-old, and a 10-year-old were handcuffed for about 20 minutes as officers investigated a report of shots fired. The children were not involved. An attorney says the case is an example of implicit bias. 3 of the kids are black, 1 is Hispanic. Minnesota's black bears are emerging from hibernation soon, and because there are no berries or green vegetation early in the spring, they'll be looking for food sources. The DNR says once a bear finds a food source, it'll likely return. Avoid any confrontations by checking your property for any unsecured food sources, including coolers and grills. Keep garbage and recyclables inside the garage until pickup day. KFGO Weather Center forecast cloudy tonight. KFGO meteorologist Tom Szymanski says we may see a little light snow overnight. Cloudy, windy tomorrow. Northwest wind at 20 to 40 and gusty. Some areas of light snow and perhaps some blowing snow where snow does come in. Then for Friday, mostly cloudy and windy, just 28. Scattered snow showers or flurries. Partly sunny on Saturday, near 34. Cloudy Sunday, a chance of light snow, the high near 36 degrees. Mostly cloudy, it's 34 degrees. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Eric Hatch is my guest, is keeping it real the second Wednesday of the month here on KFGO. Eric, this question comes in. I want to get it out before we get CBS National News. Do you need a home inspection for new construction?
You don't need a home inspection for new construction. A realtor should never advise you to not get a home inspection because then that realtor is liable if anything is found. But here's what I can tell you is if you get a new construction home, every home builder is required to give you a minimum of a 1-year warranty, kind of bumper to bumper. What I see a lot of people doing is on month 11, bringing in a home inspector, finding anything that has not gone according to plan or anything that's out of place or space. And from that, you then can go back to the builder, and the builder is licensed and required to remedy those things. So that is certainly the advantageous time for you to do so.
Very good. Your questions on the way after CBS National News. You got it locked into KFGO Fargo.
The whole horn section, the choir.
We didn't get to the Eddie Money chorus. We're going to get to... This is your chance to ask questions about your house. Here, keeping it real.
I see what you did there.
I try sometimes. I work on it from time to time. So it's a swing and a miss most times. Sometimes I can hit it out of the park. Not today, though. This message came in, and it's a very detailed question for you.
Okay. I'm
going to try my best because this stupid text club that I complain about all the time, and I know management's listening, so here's another complaint about this text club.
I always find it's helpful to complain all the time.
On live radio where thousands of people
right.
are listening. Yeah. I'll continue doing it. This one. I am preparing to sell our 7-acre farm, 25 miles from the FM area. We have a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath home with all new electrical plumbing, poured concrete foundation and roofing. We also have a converted barn with 1.5 baths. An upper-level office that we have, I think is referred to a creative space. We are a quarter mile off of a tarred main highway.
Mm-hmm.
The yard is entirely landscaped with many fruit trees. Home is a 1920s, quote, catalog home with 4-season porch and other attributes.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on the saleability of this residence? Thanks for sharing, Daryl.
Daryl, thanks for the detail. And sounds like you have a nice abode. You've done a great job of giving a lot of updates. The first thing that is the most attractive and least attractive thing of your property is the location, right? The people that want to be out of the metro will swoon over this. The people that want to be in the metro won't consider your property. So now you have a limited audience that's there. But if I look on the MLS, that's the multiple listing services, to see what's out there right now, Daryl, there's not a lot of properties like yours. So you are at an advantage. Now, if you're on the North Dakota side or Minnesota side, that also matters because your home sounds like your estate is worth, I'm going to say, I'm not even going to give a value, but it's not an average sales price. The average sales price of homes in the area right now are around $280,000 to $290,000, and your property sounds like it's worth more than that. A lot of people, not all people, but a lot of people will make their financial decision of where to live based on taxation, both property tax and income tax. The line I've heard, and I don't know the update, but a few years ago, it used to be that as a household, if you made under $80,000 a year or so, it made financial sense to live in Minnesota. If you made over that, it made financial sense to live in North Dakota. There's, of course, emotional ties to that. But when you're comparing property tax and income tax, people are going to look at your property, Daryl, and say, well, I love this, but if it's in Minnesota and I do really well financially, I can't do that. And so the size or the side of the river matters also. The other piece that is going to be an interesting thing is the acreage, because some folks want rural without acreage. Acreage is a lot of work. Even if it's just vacant land, it still is a lot to tend to and a lot to worry about. So those are all factors that are going to determine your saleability. Now, here's the great news is you're coming into spring season. You're coming into things that are going to greenify to get less mud that's out there. Properties like that pop and they show exceedingly well. So with the beauty of your house and the work that you've done and the upgrades that you've made, I would put my money on, I bet this is going to be a pretty nice property for a buyer or two that's out there. And I do know that there are buyers looking for places like yours. It's simply a matter of condition, location, and price.
Very good. In fact, I have somebody in mind that would be interested depending on that price.
Look at that.
I know, because I know a guy who knows a guy. Thanks for sending that in, Daryl. I hope I got it out the way I was supposed to. Can you get a prediction on interest rates?
Like my blood pressure, it's going up. I would love to say it's going down, but as far as I know, the feds have said there will be 6 interest rate hikes throughout the year. I think we've seen 2 or 3 of them. In fact, it's just felt aggressive. Go back 60, 90, 120 days ago, interest rates were a full % less than what they are right now. Tyler, Eric, and I were talking off the air. We said we're going to look back on the course of history, and those people that locked into interest rates at the 2% and 3% and 3.5%, we will be seen as the people stealing from the world because the people that refinanced and the people that purchased, experienced something in history that I don't think we'll ever see again. Knock on wood, it certainly could happen again, but my gosh, they were so crazy low. So I will tell you that even though interest rates for a 30-year fixed mortgage right now are around the 5% mark, give or take, that still is under the historical national average of 6%. So it's still affordable. It's just not as affordable as it once was. But do I think it's going up still? I do, not because it's my prediction, but it's what the government told us.
Yeah,
and
they said it was
when have they ever lied to us?
How much time you got? I got only 15 minutes here. Another question. I want to get a current market snapshot of the value of my property. Is Zillow the best option comes in?
Nope.
I'm shocked to hear that.
So know that when Zillow gives you a valuation of your property, and it's really easy, all you have to do is put your address in, and they're going to give you a valuation of our property. The lake place my wife and I just bought, and I know what we bought it for, and I know the appraised value. Our home appraised for 5% over our sales price, which doesn't happen traditionally. So to our texter earlier that was asking about lake values, they're up massively. Our actual Zillow value is 45% under our assessed value.
But they call it a Zestimate. It's got a cute name. It's not reliable.
Yeah, well, Zestupid is the Zestimate, right? And I am not a fan, although it's a computer algorithm. It's going off of square footage and recent comparable sales. But what it doesn't understand are the economic impacts of what's going on in a community at that given time. It doesn't understand the seasonality of where we live. It doesn't understand the quality and the character of the neighborhoods, and it doesn't understand the finishes that are inside the house. It's only going off of an algorithm. And so Zillow is an irresponsible way. Here's the great news is if you contact Hatch Realty, super easy to do, we'll give you a free estimate on your home. Realistically, property values are up 10 to 15% in the last 18 months. And if you want to know what your home is worth, it's no harm, no hassle for us, because we eventually want to earn your business. We eventually want you to do what's best for you. We're not gonna harass you all the time. We're just gonna tell you this is what your place is worth in today's market. And who doesn't want to know what their place is worth right now? Zillow's trying to find their way, and they're giving you an algorithm, and in some cases it's actually pretty accurate. But I don't want to get my medical advice from WebMD. I need to go and actually talk to a doctor so they can look under the hood, and we need to do the same with real estate.
One thing that I appreciate through the process of going through Hatch Realty, which has been no secret that I utilize your guys' services to buy and sell just this last year, is getting that sheet of here's the comparables in your neighborhood. This is what we think you can get. This is, they were very thorough done. Like when you say taking into account the neighborhood and what, quite frankly, things have been going for.
We do a diligent move when we're doing a market analysis for someone. And it's not just looking at what do the neighbor's house sell for. We're going to go through and comb through and say, what is the quality of this? How long did that house sit on the market? What are the factors that determined how much that sold for? And so we're going to give people if you think about it, homes are selling right now for about the exact list price. Some are selling for more, some are selling for less. But as we balance it out, Tyler, I'm finding out that the ability to price that out, and then it's valued and validated by an appraiser, the ability to price that out reflective on the market and what is it showing in that real time is a science and an art. It's both, right? You have to know the numbers, and then you have to be able to gauge where it's going. And that's how we protect people's money in this business.
Final segment of Keeping It Real coming up right around the corner. I got to get you this final weather update from Too Tall Tom Schmansky. So I got time to get your questions in. 35270 is how you can text. Got time for one more phone call if you want to call us at 237-5948. Second Wednesday of the month is Keeping It Real with Eric Hatch. You also got a Locked In Afternoons Live here on KFGO. Every Wednesday, second Wednesday of the month, we got about 3 minutes for you to just give us your words of wisdom on the market, buying, selling. The platform is yours.
Wow, what a nice opportunity here. I want to speak directly to home sellers because if you're in this space and in this place right now, if you listen to Real Estate Radio Sunday mornings, or if you listen to us banter back and forth here the second Wednesday of every month, this is an unbelievable time to sell. But I want to put myself in your shoes and say, I think I understand why nobody is. I mean, some people are, but why most aren't. Number one is you refinanced or you bought recently. And so the idea of moving twice, right? Tyler, you moved in the last year. How does it feel to move again?
I will pay whatever it costs to have someone else do it.
Yeah.
That's how
okay, so note to self, start a moving company ASAP.
Set that bar high, fellas.
That's right. Unbelievably so, the interest rates have made it so affordable for people, and so a lot of folks made their move, and it is so exhausting and taxing to think of moving again. So I think some people are stuck with that. We're so seasonal here in North Dakota and Minnesota that it makes logical sense that people are slowing down in the winter months. But I think the biggest pause that folks are experiencing right now is, well, if I sell, where am I going to move? That's the question that I get asked daily from people is, Eric, I know it's a great time to sell. I know I'll get more cash for my property than ever before, but where am I going to move? And we've listened so intentionally as a company, and we want to be able to solve that for people. So we have options for people to sell before they buy and buy before they sell. We want you to go and do your shopping and not have to worry about that hassle, because finding that house is going to be difficult. It's an uphill battle, and this market is not easy by any way, shape, or form. So if you're looking to do new construction, we can buy some time for you. If you're looking to get into another house, upsize, downsize, move out of town, we can help you buy before you sell and sell before you buy. So we put all that at hatchrealty.com. Or if you just want to push the easy button, and some people want to do that, we can give you a chance to sell directly to an investor. That means no showings, no fixing your house. You don't have to have any strangers through your property. And in fact, you can leave all your junk and all your mess behind. We'll take care of that. The investor's going to come and give you a strong offer so that they can take your property, fix it up, sell it, and make some cash. But you're going to be able to push that easy button. And you remember those old Best Buy commercials with that easy button?
Yes.
That's what we're doing here is, like, if you want to ride the market and deal with the chaos, we'll do that for you. If you want to sell before you buy or buy before you sell, we'll do that for you. If you want to push the easy button, we'll do that for you. So if you're thinking, I don't want to move, but maybe I'll hire movers, but how do I make this actually happen? We got you.
Very good. Eric, it's always fun. You come back next month.
I'll be here.
Very good. Eric Hatchrett's keeping it real every second Wednesday of the month. Jack Sunday's in studio. He's got the drive time news. Hi, friend.
Hello, I'm ready to do it. It's only going to be a half hour long, but it's jam-packed.
Jam-packed.
You got your news, your weather, your sports, your markets, your entertainment.
Buckle up is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's coming up 5 to 5:30 today.
Very good. That's coming up right after this, folks. That's it for me today. I'm Tyler Axel, your host on Afternoons Live. You take care. I'll check in tomorrow right here on KFGO.